The Young and the Restless spoilers and New Year's nightmare. The Newman family faces chaos. The Newman family had prepared for New Year's Eve as a moment of joy and renewal, a chance to usher in the new year with hope and unity. But this year, the celebration would be eclipsed by a series of sinister events, casting a dark shadow over Genoa City. Sharon's mysterious disappearance, Tessa's abduction, and the escalating tension among key players promised that this New Year's Eve would be one of horror, not happiness. Phyllis, a suspect in the spotlight. Phyllis Summers found herself at the center of suspicion once again. Her volatile temper and history of animosity with Sharon made her an easy target for blame. But this time, even Phyllis knew the accusations were misplaced. "I'm not your villain this time," Phyllis snapped during an encounter with Nick. "I want Sharon back as much as you do." But her frantic behavior, fueled by her own quest for vengeance against those who wronged her, made it hard for others to trust her. Even Chance Chancellor couldn't ignore the circumstantial evidence pointing her way. "Phyllis, you've made it impossible not to suspect you," Chance said during a tense interrogation. "You need to tell us everything you know." "I don't know anything," Phyllis shouted. "But if you think I'll sit back and let Sharon's disappearance get pinned on me, you're sorely mistaken." Despite her protests, the cloud of suspicion hung heavy over Phyllis, complicating the already chaotic situation. Sharon's torment. While accusations flew in Genoa City, Sharon was enduring a nightmare of her own. Held captive in a makeshift prison built by Jordan, she struggled to remain strong in the face of relentless psychological and physical torment. Jordan, fueled by her vendetta against Victor Newman, saw Sharon as a tool in her twisted plan. The prison was designed to break Sharon's spirit, a calculated move to send a message to Victor. "You think you're so strong," Jordan sneered as she stood outside Sharon's cell. "But everyone has a breaking point. Even you." Sharon, despite her weakened state, refused to give in. "You'll never win, Jordan," she said, her voice hoarse but defiant. "Victor will stop you, and so will I." But as days passed, Sharon's resolve was tested. She longed for freedom, for her family, and for a chance to expose Jordan's cruelty before it was too late. Christine and Danny's joy. Amidst the turmoil, Christine was experiencing a rare moment of happiness. Danny Romalotti's return to Genoa City had reignited their love, and the couple reveled in their reunion. As fireworks lit up the sky, they shared a passionate kiss, toasting to new beginnings. "Here's to us," Danny said, raising his glass. "And to making this year unforgettable." Christine, beaming with joy, replied, "I couldn't ask for anything more." But their happiness felt almost out of place against the backdrop of the city's growing unease. Even as they celebrated, the looming shadow of Sharon's disappearance and Tessa's abduction reminded them that danger was never far away. Michael's frustration. Meanwhile, Michael Baldwin was consumed by his own investigation. The mysterious death of Heather Stevens had haunted him for weeks, but every lead seemed to lead to a dead end. The frustration was beginning to wear on him, but he refused to give up. "This case is like chasing a ghost," Michael confided to Lauren. "Every clue I find just disappears into thin air." Lauren, ever supportive, placed a hand on his shoulder. "You'll figure it out, Michael. You always do." But Michael couldn't shake the feeling that Heather's death and the disappearances of Sharon and Tessa were somehow connected. He needed answers, and he needed them fast. Tessa's abduction, a catalyst for crisis. The news of Tessa's disappearance sent shockwaves through Genoa City. For Mariah, it was a devastating blow that left her desperate and enraged. She pleaded with Chance and Michael to take immediate action. "You need to find her," Mariah demanded, her voice breaking. "She's out there somewhere, and she's scared. I can feel it." Chance, feeling the weight of the situation, reassured her. "We're doing everything we can, Mariah. I promise we'll bring her back." But the clock was ticking, and the pressure to act quickly was mounting. Tessa's abduction wasn't just a personal tragedy, it was a sign that the situation was spiraling out of control. A meeting of minds recognizing the gravity of the situation, Michael and Chance convened a critical meeting. They needed to coordinate their efforts, piece together the fragmented clues, and decide on their next steps. This isn't just about Sharon or Tessa, Michael said, addressing the room. There's something much bigger at play here, and we're running out of time to stop it. Chance nodded, adding, we need to focus on Jordan and her connection to all of this. She's the key. The meeting was tense, filled with heated discussions and conflicting theories. But amidst the chaos, one thing was clear, the stakes had never been higher. The Newman family's nightmare. As midnight approached, the Newman family gathered in a somber vigil. Nick, Mariah, and Victor stood together, united by their shared pain and determination. We can't lose hope, Nick said, his voice steady but filled with emotion. We'll find Sharon and Tessa. We have to. Victor, ever the patriarch, vowed to take matters into his own hands if necessary. Jordan won't get away with this, he said, his tone icy. I'll see to that personally. But as the clock struck midnight and the fireworks lit up the sky, the family couldn't shake the feeling that the worst was yet to come. This New Year's Eve, instead of hope, brought fear and uncertainty, a chilling reminder that in Genoa City, happiness is always fleeting. This gripping New Year's tale sets the stage for intense drama, intertwining the lives of Genoa City's most prominent players as they face betrayal, danger, and loss. The stakes are high, and the resolution promises to be unforgettable. The tension builds, Kyle, Claire, and the battle between Abbott and Newman. Kyle Abbott was at a crossroads. The woman he loved, Claire, was caught in the relentless grip of Victor Newman's manipulation, a force Kyle knew all too well. Victor's domineering presence was suffocating, his demands clear. Claire had to end her relationship with Kyle. The Newman patriarch saw Claire as a valuable piece in his game, someone who could be molded to serve his interests. For Kyle, the only solution was to take Claire away from the toxic environment of the Newman estate and bring her to the Abbott mansion. But this plan wasn't as simple as Kyle hoped. The Abbotts and the Newmans had a storied history of rivalry, betrayal, and mistrust. Bringing Claire into the Abbott home would not only stir up old tensions but also face staunch resistance from Jack Abbott himself. Kyle's dilemma. Claire's mental state was fragile. The constant pressure from Victor had worn her down, leaving her on edge and questioning her worth. Kyle had witnessed her growing anxiety, the way she flinched at Victor's sharp words and avoided eye contact during their tense encounters. You don't have to stay there, Claire, Kyle said softly, holding her hands in his. Come with me to the Abbott mansion. You'll be safe there, away from Victor's control. Claire hesitated, her voice trembling. But will your family even accept me? Jack doesn't trust me, Kyle. He never has. Kyle's jaw tightened. He knew his father's opinion of Claire was less than favorable. Jack had always viewed her as a potential threat, someone who could turn on the Abbotts if Victor demanded it. But Kyle's love for Claire was unwavering, and he refused to let his father's mistrust dictate their future. I'll handle my father, Kyle promised. What matters is keeping you safe and happy. And that won't happen if you stay in that house. Jack's resistance. Back at the Abbott mansion, Kyle approached Jack with his plan. The elder Abbott was sitting in the study, a glass of bourbon in hand, when Kyle entered with determination etched on his face. I need to talk to you, Kyle began, his tone firm. I want Claire to move in here. Jack raised an eyebrow, his expression skeptical. You want to bring a Newman into this house? Have you lost your mind? She's not just a Newman, Kyle shot back. She's the woman I love. And Victor is destroying her. If we don't do something, she's going to break. Jack leaned back in his chair, his eyes narrowing. And you think bringing her here is the solution? Have you forgotten who her family is? She's Victor's granddaughter. Do you really think she won't turn on us the moment he snaps his fingers? Kyle bristled at the accusation. Claire isn't like that. She's not a pawn in Victor's game. She's her own person, and she loves me. Jack scoffed, taking a sip of his drink. Love? Don't be naive, Kyle. The Newman name has always come with strings attached. And I'm not willing to let her drag this family into Victor's mess. Claire's struggle. Meanwhile, Claire sat alone in her room at the Newman estate, her thoughts swirling. Victor's constant manipulation had taken its toll. He had a way of making her feel small, powerless, as though her every move was under scrutiny. Claire, Victor had said during one of their heated conversations, your relationship with Kyle is a mistake. He's not strong enough to protect you. You need to think about your future, our family's future. The words echoed in her mind, feeding her self-doubt. She wanted to believe in her love for Kyle, but the weight of Victor's disapproval made her question everything. When Kyle called later that evening, his voice filled with reassurance, Claire felt a glimmer of hope. I've talked to my father, he said. We'll figure this out together. But deep down, Claire knew that moving to the Abbott mansion wouldn't solve all their problems. Jack's mistrust loomed large, and the rivalry between their families threatened to tear them apart. Jack's final decision. The next day, Jack called a family meeting to discuss Kyle's proposal. Ashley, Billy, and Tracy gathered in the living room, each with their own opinions about bringing Claire into the fold. This is a bad idea, Ashley said bluntly. Claire may not be as calculating as Victor, but she's still a Newman. And we all know how that ends. Tracy, ever the peacemaker, offered a different perspective. If Kyle truly loves her, shouldn't we give her a chance? Maybe she's different from the rest of them. Billy leaned back in his chair, smirking. It's a gamble either way. But Jack's right to be cautious. Victor never plays fair. Jack listened to their input before turning to Kyle, who stood defiantly in the center of the room. This isn't just about love, Kyle, Jack said. It's about protecting this family. Are you willing to risk everything for her? Kyle met his father's gaze, unwavering. Yes. Because she's worth it. After a long pause, Jack sighed heavily. Fine. She can stay, but under one condition. If she so much as hints at betraying this family, she's out. No questions asked. The move to the Abbott mansion. When Kyle relayed the news to Claire, she was both relieved and apprehensive. Moving into the Abbott mansion felt like stepping into enemy territory, but she trusted Kyle to stand by her side. The day of the move was tense. Victor watched from the window as Claire packed her bags, his expression unreadable. As she left, he offered one final warning. You're making a mistake, Claire, Victor said coldly. And when it all falls apart, don't expect me to save you. Claire didn't respond. She couldn't. The weight of his words followed her as she arrived at the Abbott mansion, where Jack greeted her with a cool, guarded demeanor. This house has rules, Jack said. And you'd do well to follow them. Claire nodded, determined to prove herself. But as she stepped into the unfamiliar space, she couldn't shake the feeling that her presence would only deepen the divide between the Newmans and the Abbotts. A fragile peace for now, Claire and Kyle had won the battle, but the war between the Newmans and the Abbotts was far from over. Jack's mistrust, Victor's manipulations, and the ever-present tension between the families promised that the road ahead would be anything but smooth. But for Claire, one thing was clear: she would fight for her love, no matter the cost. And for Kyle, protecting Claire meant standing against his father and proving that their relationship could withstand the storm. The new year promised no resolutions, only more drama, secrets, and betrayals in the ongoing saga of Genoa City.